We are going to cover a few topics today, which includes uh, the impact of cloud computing on our daily lives, not only our daily lives as a person, but also on the small businesses, on the individuals, on the large businesses, etc. Um, and then we are going to talk about the considerations that a business should make before considering going to the cloud, because although cloud is for most of the businesses and most of us, but there could still be some exceptions. So there are some few businesses, there are a few considerations that one should make before going to the cloud, and we are going to discuss that. Then we are going to discuss that how um, to what are the approaches that are taken while going towards the cloud from the in-premise solution. I mean, while migrating to cloud, and what are the due diligence that a business should do once they have decided to go on cloud, and once the migration happens. So what are the due diligence that they should have before taking the steps to migrate to the cloud. And finally, the 7-step migration plan. Each and every step we are going to discuss in substantial detail. So these are the topics for today, and let's start talking about the impact of cloud computing. So the very first impact is to discuss is the innovation and transformation. I mean, we all know that the things have changed quite a lot in the last 20 years, and this is mainly due to the advent of cloud computing. I mean, the internet is mainly driven by um, the cloud infrastructure, the web page services that they have provided to the individuals. I mean, imagine yourself without the Gmails, without the Facebook, without WhatsApp, and without Dropbox and all those facilities that we enjoy these days. I mean, they were not there, for most of us, like 20, 25 years ago. And I mean, the last 10 years, these things have been made available not only on the computer screens, but also on the handsets and also on tablets. So so the user access because of the cloud um, to the technology has become more diversified. Um, and then there is I mean, uh, from the small business perspective, I mean, uh, for instance, I mean, some small business 20 years ago, they wanted to go online. They wanted to to set up an online store. Um, they were looking at a massive capital expenditure in the beginning. They were looking to purchase the servers. They were looking to purchase the storage devices. They were looking to purchase a place where they would place all the equipment and the electricity and the air conditioning bill and all that. And then there would be some dedicated staff to to maintain those that equipment. So I mean, even before testing their business idea, whatever their business idea was, whether they were retail, whether they were selling the clothes, whether they were selling the milk or the toys online, I mean, before even going online in the market to sell their stuff, they were looking at a massive expenditures of somewhere around the price of maybe 100,000 or 150,000 pounds worth of equipment that they had to purchase and invest upon. And when they would try their business idea, and for some reason the business idea wouldn't work, then all this investment would go down to the drain. And because with computers and electronics, the second-hand equipment, people usually don't buy that, and even if they buy they expect to buy it very cheap. So the investment would be wasted. So that's why cloud computing has provided these opportunities to the small businesses that you don't have to invest such a massive amount. You can come to cloud depending upon your requirement, whether it's the infrastructure as a service or a platform as a service or software as a service. You can buy as small as software as a service and as big as infrastructure as a service. um, uh, and then you can set up your business very quickly within a matter of hours, not even days. um, and then you can go online and try and test if it works for you or not. If it doesn't work, then it's not for you, and not much harm done when it comes from the perspective of making the investments. But in the past 20 years ago, 25 years ago, it was a massive investment that we were looking at. Before even starting making money, you had to invest quite a lot. So that is a kind of a revolution for the small business that impact that cloud computing has done. And then from the perspective of large organization, I mean, yes, large organizations have got quite a lot of money. They could invest on their on-premise solutions rather than going on the cloud. But at the same time, they are also maintaining a massive workforce, a massive IT workforce to maintain those solutions, to maintain the data centers and all that. It doesn't mean that if you don't have a if you if you have cloud, you don't have an IT workforce. Yes, you still have an IT workforce, but maybe not as big uh, as you would have when you were maintaining an on-premise solution. So so what cloud has done for them is that they can focus more on their business rather than focusing on their data centers and their equipment, and they can relieve that force. In fact, they can use that workforce to work on their business solutions and be more creative, save costs, and put themselves in a better solution to be more innovative. So that's how cloud has helped the large organization as well. That when they become more innovative, then they bring more solutions, there more products and more services to the market, because of which the competition increases, and then the quality of the products and services also increase in that market. So what are the considerations that a business should make before they even consider moving towards the cloud? So one of the main consideration is related to the productivity. The businesses becomes more productive when they go to cloud. They can choose to stay on the in-premise solution. There is no compulsion for them to go on the cloud. But from the productivity perspective, I mean, there is a massive advantage, as we have just discussed in the example, that for small businesses, I mean, for large businesses especially, they can relieve their workforce, they can relieve their IT workforce, technical workforce, and use them in a better way to to produce more innovative solutions, which would help the competition and give rise to better services and products in the market. Then the other consideration that a business should make is with regards to the seamless integration. This is a question that the business should ask if they are considering cloud. That does the cloud application that I mean, does the cloud perform seamlessly when it comes to becoming integrated with their applications, uh, whether their tools and systems are really ready to get integrated into the cloud, and whether they have all their tools and systems and their applications and whatever they want to transfer to the cloud, they are all technically ready to make a move. Or is that something that they should first be doing then before going to the cloud? For instance, the example could be that maybe there is a company uh, who is still doing their paperwork on real paper, rather than, they don't have any, they have a large repository of documentation, that they want to put on cloud, but they can't put on cloud if they are not converted into maybe PDF files or the Word files. They are still the physical documents who are, probably eating dust in the large, cabinets, and they have to bring those documents out. They have to convert those documents into the PDF, into the software format, and then they transfer the that documentation in from the on-premise servers to the cloud. So that's a very simple example, but it's just to give you a concept that what would be a seamless integration be. There could be, so these are the this is also one of the challenge that that they should consider, that whether they are ready for a seamless integration or not. Then we have something to do with the technical capabilities that the organization should consider before moving on to cloud. Technical capability means is that do you have the workforce who will be able to support the cloud solutions when your applications are transferred from your on-premise solution to the cloud solution? Are they trained on the cloud vendor that you are considering? If you are considering going on the Google Cloud platform, do you have your workforce ready to make that transition as well? It's not about making a transition from the technology perspective, but also from the perspective that your users and your workforce is comfortable in using that. And if they are not, then after the cutoff date, you will be looking at massive problems. So that's why developing the technical capabilities within your workforce is equally important, and it's a massive consideration that you should be making before you're making that decision to go on cloud. So now let's talk about what are the approaches that could be taken depending upon your circumstances to while you migrate from your on-premise solution to the cloud solution. So one of the approach is called a lift and shift solution. Now, as the name suggests, the lift and shift approach involve the exact replication of the in-house application into the cloud. In-house application okay, let me say it again. The lift and shift approach involves the exact replication of whatever you have on your in-house solution to your cloud solution. So this means that it's just like a copy paste, that you just go into your on-premise solutions repositories, you just pick up all the stuff, and you just make a transfer. It has to be seamless, because you are just lifting and shifting the stuff. Usually it is applicable to to your documentation, to your PDF files, your Word file, to your Excel sheets, your pictures and all that. So yeah, it's just that your applications are completely ready, and there's nothing stopping you to make that transition. So that's what you call as a lift and shift solution. Then there's something called as refactoring. So refactoring is like making changes in the structure of the source code of the application in order to make it more efficient. And it does involve making some changes into the source code such that it becomes more scalable and more usable without changing the functions of the application. In other words, that this approach to the cloud migration adheres to the concept of getting something working now and fix it later. So what we do is that you just make as minimum changes in your source code. If those changes are required, if lift and shift solution is not applicable to you, there are some changes that you have to make into the source code, into the software, and then you make a change. But those changes are like you just want to to make the minimum changes, as minimum as possible, and then you make that transition. You transit your application so that they start working. If there are any issues that are experienced, then those issues could be addressed later. But at the moment, your application is working fine. After that, uh, those small changes that you have made into your source code. And last but not the least is the modernization approach. So what does modernization really mean? The modernization application approach um, to cloud computing redesigns the application from the ground up. It means that you are completely, it's just like you are building up a new application, and to make it more compatible and more flexible with the with the with the cloud environment, rather than lifting and shifting. Lifting and shifting is not uh, applicable in this case. Even the refactoring is not applicable because the applications are not ready, and uh, the small changes that one could make with the refactoring is not going to work. You would rather be you know spending a bit more time and a bit more money to develop these applications from the ground up level, from the scratch, and then you know you you put them into the cloud, and once they have put into the cloud, those applications would start working. So it's like a complete overhaul of your application. You may even have to develop the application from the scratch. Without this approach, it may not even go on cloud. So that's why this approach, they call that this approach is the most complex approach, which is what we call as the modernization approach. So now let's talk about the due diligence. That what are the things that your organization must do before taking the steps to go to the cloud, before adopting any of the three approaches that we have just discussed, before going for refactoring, or before going for lift and shift, and before even going for the modernization. there are there is some sort of a due diligence that an organization must do. And if they don't do that due diligence, then the project to migrate towards the cloud could be a problem. It could become into a massive headache if the due diligence is not done. So one of the thing that due diligence should take into account is so-called initiation. Some people call it pre-work, the other call it initiation. In initiation, you're first supposed to build an internal cloud team to set up the scope of your project. You need to have all the stakeholders work together as a team and define the scope of your migration project. You need to assign the roles and responsibilities to those stakeholders, to those participants. You need to set the expectations and standards and objectives that what this migration is going to achieve for you. What should be the expectation within the organization and within your own team, and what are the standards that you need to adhere to while making that transition, and after that transition as well. So and once the project has successfully completed, the whole migration has successfully completed, then what is the plan after that? Who is going to look after the servers? Who is going to look after the storage? And who is going to do the general administration of your cloud? So these are the things that an initiation should take into account. From project management perspective, it's just like working on your business case in the beginning, and once your business case is developed, then you are going to identify the stakeholders who will be taking part into your project. So that's the first thing that needs to be done as a due diligence while you consider to make a move towards the cloud. Then the next one is business and application analysis. So what it means is that what impact the cloud migration will have on your business. This is the question that you need to ask yourself, that are you just going to follow um, the trend of the day, that that everybody is going cloud, so I should go cloud as well? Or is there any, there are any efficiencies that you are looking at? There are any benefits that you are targeting towards while making that transition? Do you know that there will be some benefits for your company, and there will be any benefits for your employees as well? After all, that cloud is not just a technical enhancement. This is something that we must remember. It has a strong impact on various business functions as well, and we need to appreciate that before going cloud. Um, so the business applications that you are considering uh, to um to make to transfer to cloud, they need to be evaluated based on the cost and the architectural requirements. Those applications which we are thinking of moving, some of them could be just lift and shift. Some of them would require some refactoring, like making some small changes on the source code. But then there would be some applications which require ground up development, something like a modernization thing. So is that something you're willing to do, you're willing to invest in? And if you are willing to invest in that, what benefits those that transition is going to that transfer is going to bring to you? So this is something you also need to consider. And then we look at the cloud provider selection. This is something, it's not something that that you could do overnight. There are many cloud solutions available. The main cloud solutions in the market are from Microsoft Azure, then Google Cloud Platform, and then Amazon Web Services, AWS. Uh, there are some, these are the main ones. Then there are some from IBM. There are some from Salesforce and Oracle and Alibaba and all that. So it's not an overnight decision to make that, that okay, we will just go probably to Amazon tomorrow because this is something very popular. So you have to be very meticulous in um, making that decision. There, you have to understand that which of these services is going to best suit your needs. Um, I mean, Amazon could be strong in some stuff and weak in others, and so is Microsoft Azure, and so is Google Cloud Platform. There could be cost efficiencies in some aspects of Amazon, and there could be cost efficiencies in some other aspects of GCP which are not there in Amazon. So um, and also the vendor lock-in things. Whether the whether all your applications are free from vendor locking in when you pick up a particular solution, or some of the applications you are fearing that they will go locked in when you select a particular vendor. You should also consider the rules and regulations, the compliance issues of the country you are working in, and also the country of the origin of your cloud. So these are the things that that one needs to bear in mind before you make a selections. The hidden costs. There could be some stuff in the small font which is not very upfront to you in the beginning, but then later on you find out that there are some other costs you are incurring as well, which you were not probably aware of. So and also disaster recovery options. Um, yes, you don't have to worry about the disaster um, in your premises, because you have transferred everything to the cloud. You may have uh, taken that option, but um, what would happen, I mean, if there are some disasters striking to your cloud service provider, what are their disaster recovery plan, and how they are going to ensure that, once they are impacted, uh, so how they are going to ensure that your business is not impacted. I mean, if there are floods in the data centers of uh, of their cloud service providers, then what would they do to to make sure that you are not impacted by that? So all these things, the security, the availability, the disaster recovery options, the costs, they all need to be taken into account, um, you know, while selecting a cloud service provider. Then you have to have your risk mitigation plan as well. So obviously, no project completes without a risk. And cloud migration is a project in its own as well. So there has to be some sort of a risk mitigation that you need to adopt. There could be risks of many types. We are just talking about a very generic risk, uh, which says that, for instance, if this doesn't work for you, if you make a transition to cloud, and then you find that actually the cloud is not for you, although you should have worked this out before going to the cloud. It's a massive investment, it's a massive project that you are undertaking. So you should have done all the due diligence before making a transition to the cloud, but for some reason you 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 know you missed out a few things, or there are a few things which were not there. There were a few risks which were not visible to you, but now you have found out that that these risks are not letting you gain the efficiencies from the cloud. You are actually spending more money than you were spending before, which is quite unlikely because cloud does provide you the cost efficiencies in most of the cases. But for some reason, for argument's sake, we say that we found out that the cloud is not for you while you have made that transition. So what do you think you would do when you are in such a situation? For that, you need to have a plan B, right? You need to have a plan B to probably make a transition back towards your on-premise solution, or you need to have something in place to reduce those costs which you were not expecting. Or there could be a risk that your staff is not trained to handle the cloud. So there has to be a mitigation plan as well, that probably you would train your staff before you make a move to the cloud, or there could be some parallel plan that while the transition is happening, your staff is also getting trained. Or you could be something like your staff could get on the job training when the cloud migration happens. So all these things, I mean, uh, risks should be assessed thoroughly before making that transition, before going to the cloud. And then a risk mitigation plan needs to be developed for each and every of that risk. We have talked in length on the risk mitigation in my previous lectures when we talked about the project management, when we talk about the cybersecurity risk management. So but I'm not going to discuss too much risk mitigation techniques in detail over here, but for now just say that, yeah, I mean, the risk should be properly evaluated, the probability and the impact of those risks should be evaluated. They need to be ranked, a mitigation plan need to be discussed and agreed upon, and then you make a move towards the cloud. And then last but not the least is the post-migration planning. You can also call it steady state planning. So post-migration planning is about, you have made a move to the cloud successfully. Now you are in the cloud. Now the applications are there. the applications are working fine. You probably have started getting the benefits of your new cloud solution as well. Your company is doing great and all that, so this is all good. But what is your plan to to maintain um, uh, that cloud solution? What are the regular uh, governance and vendor management steps you will be taking? Are you going to review your strategy on the regular basis? Are you going to do the regular audits to see how many threats you have these days? How many viruses have attacked you in the last 30 days or in the last quarter? I mean, have there been any password break-in attempts on your cloud solution? After all, your cloud is your data, your applications. They are not with you anymore. They are with a third-party solution provider. But also, while the third-party solution provider has reassured you that your solution, your applications and your content is safe with them, but there is a level of responsibility that you also have to make sure that uh, that uh, that your stuff is actually safe with a third party. So there are sort of some sort of check and balances that you need to be doing as well, as a part of your post deployment plan. You have set up all um, those those procedures and standards to make sure that when you are finally on the cloud, all these things are working fine for you. So these are the 5 steps of due diligence that one must be doing before they make a move towards the cloud. And now we are going to talk about the 7-step migration plan. Now, this is quite an important topic as well, because especially from the project management perspective, especially from the management perspective, I know that there are quite a lot of participants on my course who are project managers, and they probably some of them uh, did not have a chance so far to work on the cloud migration projects, but some of them may have worked, some of them may have heard about it, and they want to gain more information on that. So this is quite an important topic, to understand that what needs to be exactly done when somebody makes a move during that movement. What needs to be exactly done while making that transition. So there are 7 steps, as I said. The first step is called assess or assessment. So in the assessment phase, or in the assessment step, we understand what challenges we could face while migrating to the cloud. What would be the costs for designing and architecting the solutions? What are our security requirements while doing that migration and post migration as well? We try to understand all the complexities that we are going to face while we are going to make that transition and post um, um migration as well. We understand that what kind of an investment we are looking at when for the cloud migration, the test cases and the use cases. We are going to define that what does the user is really expecting from the cloud, and how a user's life is going to be made easy, or his work is going to be made more interesting when the transition happens. What are the tools and systems that we need to consider during the migration and post migration? So these are all the things which needs to be considered during the assessment step of cloud migration. There should be a lot of risk analysis and uh, risk risk planning done as well during the assessment, that there's no project without a risk, as I said. So we need to at least identify those risks. We may leave the steps to be taken to mitigate at a later stage, but at least some sort of a risk identification exercise should be done during the assessment as well. So this is the very first step that needs to be taken, and then the next one would be isolate. So what does isolate means? Isolate means that the application to be migrated from your internal data center, from your on-premise solution, they need to be isolated from uh, from from the systems, from the tools and systems that you are currently using. So probably you are not looking into migrating the whole IT environment from your on-premise solution to the cloud. There could be maybe 50% or 70% of your applications are going to the new cloud solution, or maybe just 10%. You are just testing the waters. So what you need to first do is to isolate them, and then you transfer them to the cloud solution. If you don't isolate them, then what then that would mean that they are still connected to your on-premise solution, to the tools and system within your on-premise solution. So and this is something which could make your transition very difficult, and it could bring a lot of technical and management issues for you. I mean, if you haven't isolated them from your current IT environment. The next one is called mapping. So mapping means that obviously physically and logically your applications, they are holding a space into your current on-premise solution. So and they are going to move into some physical and logical space on your new cloud solution. So you need to do the mapping first of all, that okay, they're going to leave this place, and they are going to enter that space, and in that space they are going to occupy that particular location. It's just like you are moving homes from one house to another house. You have a lot of furniture maybe at your home, and your possessions. So while you're making a move, to make it more efficient for you, and to make it more easy for you, you would identify the areas where your possessions are going to land when you make into a new house, which room your study table is going to go in, which room your laptop is going to be placed in, where your dining table and your chairs are going to be placed. All those things, you need to map before you make the transition, so that from day one you could start using them. And I mean, this is a similar concept of mapping in the cloud migration as well, that you need to have that kind of a plan set up somewhere. That mapping needs to be done somewhere before you make that transition, you make that migration. The next one is called architect, or you can also call it design. So obviously, migration to the cloud demands re-architecting of application in most cases, and this may result in a loss of some functionalities. And this can be, I mean, this could be, I mean, if you do not, this can result in loss of certain functionality if the architecture is not done properly. If a thorough design exercise is not done properly, then you could end up losing some of the functionalities. So a proper design activity needs to be done. Somebody like a solution architect needs to sit and develop the high-level design of how this migration is look like when the migration is done, how the systems are going to talk to each other inside the cloud, what would be the tools which we will use, uh, you know, uh, and how those systems and applications are going to interface with each other. So this is all needs to be done, in the architect or design phase. Uh, the next one is called augmentation. Augmentation means that you are trying to increase something. Uh, you just take advantage of your cloud migration by saying that, look, I was looking into to enhance my service or my application, um, for quite a while, but I was just waiting for this project because in the project I would be, you know, I would have this opportunity anyway to make those enhancements. So let's do it now. This is the time that while I'm doing some refactoring, or in some cases while I'm doing some modernization. So why not? And because in refactoring or in modernization, we are playing around with the source codes. We are changing those source codes, and the and enhancing the applications and enhancing the functionality may also require changing those source codes. So let's take this opportunity now, and enhance those applications before transferring them to the new cloud solutions, by the virtue of this phase called augmentation. Uh, and then the second last phase is called the testing phase. And in that testing phase, what you do is that you are, now you have already, you have brought your solution to the point that it's ready to, it's doing it what it is supposed to do. But before making it live to the production environment, you want to test it. You want to ensure that nothing breaks when it goes to the live environment. People are making use of it rather than making complaints about this is not working and that is not working and this is broken and that is broken. So you need to make sure that everything works smoothly as it says on the tin. You have done your solution integration testing, you have done your user acceptance testing and all that, and then you make a final move to transit from your on-premise solution to the cloud solution. And last but not the least is you do the optimization. By optimization, you mean that optimization means that you are trying to make use of your storage as efficiently as possible. You make the maximum benefit of your minimum resources and get the best return on investment. That's what you're trying to do with optimization. Initially, if you remember, in the old days, we used to get some applications when the application usually comes to the market. Even these days, when they come to the market, they are quite big in size. Probably, an application which would be 50 megabytes or 100 megabytes in size, maybe a few years ago. The lighter version of those applications are is probably 10% of what it used to be, something like 5 megabytes or 10 megabytes, and the application is still giving the same functionality that it was supposed to give and it was giving a few years ago, and they ended up reducing the size of that application by doing the optimization, by constantly reviewing the source code and how to reduce the fat and all that. They have been doing that. So you also keep doing that exercise, and this optimization is not a one-time activity. You just keep doing that. Even after the migration, you just keep reviewing that, and you keep reviewing you keep looking for the ways by the virtue of which you could make your storage work for you a bit more efficiently with the maximum benefit of your resources with the best ROI. So yeah, so that's how your migration work. These are the 7 steps of your migration. So there's one more thing that I'm going to discuss over here before closing the presentation. Um, it's that why these migrations actually fail. What are wha- what are the factors behind because of which people do not have successful migration? So we have already talked about due diligence. If you don't do a proper due diligence, then you are looking into massive problems. You are looking into disappointments. You are looking into failures, uh, um, because you did not realize that that the cloud solution, maybe it is there for 90% of people, maybe it's not for you. You did not realize that. Uh, and you joined the bandwagon, and then in the end you realize that it's not for me. You ended up wasting a lot of money and a lot of effort. So that would be quite disappointing for you. uh, you you also probably did not um, follow all the 7 steps properly, um, and that is down to the poor planning, because the migration was not planned properly. It went ahead in quite a haphazard manner, so no due diligence, no proper planning, and now you are facing a lot of problems with regards to your cloud migration. Another challenge because of which the migrations usually fail is people. It's related to the culture. It's related to the fact that the people are not ready to absorb that change. People are not really are ready to change their behaviors and their ways of working. And cloud is something which is meant to um, transform all those things. So probably rather than forcing the cloud solution, to rather than forcing it upon the staff and the employees, it's better to work with them. It's better to first educate them. Is to get their buy-in, to bring them on your side, and then make a transition, rather than first you take a transition and then you educate the people. Maybe it's going to backfire. And last but not the least is with regards to the challenges around data security, which is very crucial. Data security during the migration. Once the migration has happened, then mainly data security is the responsible of your cloud provider. Um, Although you also have to do your due diligence. You have to keep an eye on your vulnerabilities and your threats. But the most crucial time is when the data is in transition from your on-premise solution to your new cloud solution. So you need to plan it very well with your security staff, uh, so that they can work with you on this one. Another factor because of which uh, the the migrations are not regarded as success is because sometimes you just go ahead and choose the most cost effective cloud service provider who is not even certified. ISO 27001 is a security certification, is an ISO certification, which and if you and you did not look into that aspect, uh, and now you are finding yourself in a bit of a trouble with this cloud provider, because they are not the most the best cloud providers in the market. You are finding yourself in a vendor locking in situation where at a later stage it is becoming increasingly difficult for you to to transit your to to make a transition from your current cloud provider to another cloud provider. So that is another failure that you may experience. And then the final one is the lack of a robust SLA. You did not agree upon any downtimes and any uptimes uh, uh, with your cloud providers. You did not agree that, what compensation would they be offering you if they did not give you 99% downtime, for instance. Oh, sorry, 99% uptime, for instance. So what compensation would you be looking at? You did not agree upon that, and now you are in not a great situation. So that's something that you have to be mindful as well, that this is regarded as a failure and you don't want to be in that situation. So yeah, that's all really about it with regards to today's lecture. And then, I mean, this is from a theoretical perspective, this is a final lecture of the Cloud Foundation um, uh, Foundation workshop, that Cloud Foundation webinars that we have been doing. Now, in the next one, I'm going to show you a lab